There you go. Good. So that's one of that's the best shot I've seen you hit.
Yeah.
I'm first going to look at you in the impact position because it's the most important. Everything the ball does, how far it goes, how high it goes, how much it spins and curves, is a direct response to the laws of physics in motion at the brief moment of impact. On the left is Tiger hitting an iron. This is video I took at last year's US Open. On the right is Grant Wade hitting a driver. Grant was a PGA Tour player during the 90s and now is one of the top instructors of tour players. Grant's teaching partner is a good friend of mine, Joe Mayo, who lives in Las Vegas. Grant was considered by many as having one of the best and most fundamentally sound golf swings. At impact, they both have the majority of their weight on the left side. In fact, the average pro will have 85 to 90% of their weight on the left side at impact. I've drawn a red box from the center of their ankles to the top of their head, and you can see that the red line off their left foot is passing right through their belt buckle, showing how the center of their mass is right on top of their left foot. They both have extended arms through impact. Their elbows are close together and not separating. Having extended arms and weight forward allows them to control the low point of their arc of their swing. When hitting the iron, this fundamental allows the placement of the low point to be in front of the ball, so that they hit the ball first and then the ground, producing the maximum compression of the golf ball. These fundamentals also allows for the highest level of consistency in controlling the face angle and club path during impact, so that you in turn have the highest level of consistency in hitting whatever optimal ball flight you want. Okay, Jim, we're going to start out by looking at your driver, and I have you at the impact position on one of the holes. To the right is Grant Wade, and I have him at the impact position. First, I want to go over your on-course performance, and you on the driving, out of 14 attempts, you hit 5 fairways, which is 36%, and you had 4 drives that ended up being kind of unplayable. You couldn't really advance the ball based on where it ended up. The also 50% of your drives left you with a distance greater than 175 yards. So those are two things that I kind of look at to find out, do you need to hit your best shot better or your best shot more often? When I look at your flight scope data, you've got pretty good club head speed, 92 miles an hour was your average. You carry at 240. And if you hit all of your drives with a carry of 240, then there's really not going to be any par four that you can't be less than 175 yards remaining to the green, and most of them are going to be around 150. So you hit it far enough to score well. You don't necessarily need to hit it further. You just need to be more. You just need to hit it more consistently solid, so that you're in more fairway. So if we just simply make good solid contact without trying to hit it further, and start working on hitting more fairways, you're going to lower your score. My goal for all my students is to help you lower your score. And so looking at the other statistics on there, Jim, when you were hitting the 5 or 6 shots with the driver with Flight Scope, you had a slight draw, you had a fairly low spin rate, and you had a good launch angle. You're playing a 13-degree lofted driver, and you do have a tendency sometimes to hit it low, it looks like, but you got a good launch angle, average of about 13-degree launch angle, so that's fine. Your path was 2 degrees to the right, and your face was 1 degree to the right, which would give you a slight draw. That's perfect. You also have plenty of power with your 8-iron. You carry it 150 yards. That's a big 8-iron. So my goal is, as I examined your mechanics of your swing, is what are you doing mechanically that is costing you control and consistency with the driver. And I'll talk about the approach. We'll look at the iron swing in a minute. I have you at the impact position, and I'm not going to try to say that you need to look like the pros, but use the pro model as something to compare to find out what few things that they're doing that you're not doing that you could do. We're not going to fool with those things that they're doing that you can't do. Let's find those things that they're doing that you could do to make you hit it better. So first of all, let's look at the weight distribution between your feet. Now, one of the things that we know through research is that one of the things that the pros do when they hit a driver or an iron, basically, they will have a huge majority of their weight on their left side. 85 to 90% of their weight will be on that left side when they make contact. Your weight distribution is hanging back. Now, you don't have to get as far as he does, but if you could get a little more to your left side, that would be better. And there's some drills I can show you how to do that. I'm going to look at your post-impact positions a little bit. Again, Grant is still strong on that left side. If I draw an arrow straight up from his left foot, he's getting the center of his body right on top of his left foot, and you're still hanging back. So you're kind of falling backwards. I'm going to go a little bit further in the follow-through to about right there. You'll notice at this point, when your hands are about shoulder high, Grant has his left arm here and his shaft here. So he almost has a right angle between the shaft and his left arm. So he has rehinged his wrist upward through that left hand into almost a 90-degree angle. Your shaft is here and your left arm is here. So you don't have the same amount of rehinge. So you're not really moving this club this way faster so that you also could have close to a right angle in the shaft. So that it's possible that you've never really experienced the dynamic of a rehinge on the post-impact side. Once you learn how to rehinge properly, it gives you a completely different kind of strike of the ball and more effortless power. And without that rehinge, without the proper when you have the proper release of the club through impact, it will automatically have a proper rehinging release in the follow-through. The evidence that you may not be releasing the club properly through impact is the lack of observation of the rehinge on the follow-through. Sometimes we can't really see what's going on in the wrist joint right through impact, but I am suspicious that you have some grip issues and that you do not have a perfect grip. And if you did, you would have a much better swing action through impact. You would have that effortless power. And as I look at your grip, and I'll look at it further in the video a little bit closer because I did a close-up of your grip. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. On the finish of this swing, Grant will come up into a nice pro classic finish. And as you finish, you can see how you're kind of falling backwards. Without that proper release, you're going to try to create club speed with other kinds of muscle groups in your body, and that's what really throws you off balance. You don't have effortless power. You have some pretty good power, but you're having to put a lot of effort to get it. Now we're going to look at those things that you do prior to impact that might prevent you from having a better impact position and a more consistent impact position. In the beginning of the swing, your setup, you have a lot of things that you do really well. You've got a nice extension in your arms, both arms. I will say that your stance is a lot wider than I would typically see on tour. You probably are wider than the widest. I have some concerns that some of the weight shifting, your ability to shift to your left foot during a golf swing is hindered by having your right foot so far away from your left foot. So one of the things that I would like to experiment with is change your setup a little bit. So you stand a little taller and have a little bit more narrow stance, and just simply by narrowing your stance, you automatically will get taller. The other thing I'm seeing is ball position is too far back in your stance. I need it to be out here on your instep. Your flight scope data says that you're hitting down 1 degree, and you would hit the ball 15, 20 yards further if you hit up on the drive about 2 or 3 degrees. And you're not going to be able to hit up on the drive with the ball back in your stance like that. I want it off your instep. So I would like you to move the ball forward, but also when I look at how high you're teeing the ball in relation to the club head, you also tee the ball too low. And when you tee it low, it promotes a downward hit. And so moving it forward, you would also have to tee it higher to promote, so that you reach your lowest point before you get to the golf ball, and then you swing up into it. Okay, well, here we're going to look at we're going to look at your iron swing now. I'm going to compare it to Tiger. This is a video I took at the U.S. Open last summer. You can certainly tell that your stance is much wider than his, and he's quite a bit taller than you are. This allows him a little bit more mobility with his legs and hips, and you kind of, with the wide stance, you end up locking your lower body down, and it's not able to participate in swinging of the golf club. Before I talk about your grip, I want to look at one other swing. During the round, you hit a lot of little, what I call knockdown shots. It looked like a shot you like to use and you were comfortable doing. And I suspect you have a history of hitting a lot of good shots, and you have a little bit of confidence with that kind of a shot. And the width of your stance for this shot is closer to what I would like for you to have for a full swing. And so I would try to build your full swing a little bit around your setup for your knockdown. And with a slight grip change and ball position change, your setup for the knockdown, I think, is going to give you a better full swing shot. So narrowing your stance is not going to put you in some sort of a position you're not familiar with. You seem to be very familiar and very comfortable with the knockdown shot and the setup stance that you set up for that. On your grip, your left hand is in what is considered a weak position. This right hand looks pretty good. You've got your right palm in the same plane as the face of the club, which is optimal for the right hand position on the handle. And when your right hand is in that position, for most people, the shape of their hand will have this crease kind of going this way between their right ear and right shoulder. Ideally, we would want the left hand turned over so that it also is kind of parallel to that. But your crease is almost going kind of at the center of your body, and that's one of the things that we consider to be a visual checkpoint, in that you are in a weak position. For most people, when they have their left hand in this position, they will not be able to consistently square the club face to the ball, and that the club face will come in more often than not open to the desired target line or the desired start line. And if you have a lot of shots that end up to the right, and on your drive you had quite a few to the right, you had more to the right than to the left, typically also means that you'll hit the ball with that open club face with a more glancing blow, because your path will be left of the face, and you will not compress the ball as well and transfer your club head speed into the ball so that you get maximum ball speed. So with that left hand grip, you're going to lose accuracy and power and distance. So certainly one of the things I would want to work with first in your swing is to strengthen your left hand and narrow your stance. And the third thing I like to work with you on is a balanced finish, a consistent balanced finish. You lost your balance several times during the round with your swing, but you had some swings that I want to show you right now that were just perfect balance. There you go. That's the best shot I've seen you hit.
Yeah.
Those are two great swings, and here's one of them. And you can see how well you finished balanced. You're right on top of your left foot. You're not falling back. That red arrow is going right through your center of your hips and your body, just like Grant's was and Tiger was. It's interesting to point out that the red line behind your foot was where your foot was when you set up. You had a very wide stance. But because it's wider than it should be, the only way that you can get into this good position up on that left foot is to drag the foot forward in your downswing and follow through, which you did here. And so your right foot that you see now on the blue line is where the foot wants to be all the way through the swing. And so that's where I want you to set up initially, is that stance. Because if you had to put that foot back to the red line again, you'd have to fall backwards to do that. But I want you to have consistent finish and balance with every swing, not just occasionally, but every time. And we need to work on that a little bit. Enjoyed working with you and look forward for the opportunity to work with you again.